This is a Film Stories original podcast.
We made this.
Hello and welcome back everyone to the X-Cast. The truth is in here. It's our special Fight the Future Minute podcast. I'm Tony Black once again, your host, and you're listening to coverage of minute 79 of the X-Files Fight the Future. This minute begins at 1 hour, 18 minutes precisely, with Mulder in the hospital bed plotting his escape with Skinner and the Lone Gunmen, and ends at 1 hour, 18 minutes and 59 minutes precisely with Martin Landau's Dr. Alvin Kurzweil walking down an alleyway. So, and to discuss this minute with me once again, I'm joined by recurring Fight the Future Minute guest and X-Cast patron, Luke Winch.
Good to be here, Tony.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in this one, Luke, isn't there? So there's a fair bit to chew on, really, because as we talked about in the last episode, you've got Skinner and the Lone Gunman here helping Mulder. He's had his gunshot wound to the head, just somehow survived, bandage on his head, getting up out of bed, ready to head off. And I mean, one thing I keep thinking, when you get Skinner and the Lone Gunman in a room together, do you reckon they're mates? Like, do you reckon he'd hang out with them?
Absolutely not. I don't think Skinner would involve himself in such rattle.
Do you think like you don't think secretly he might actually like hanging out with these three weirdos? Like
maybe they have like a Saturday night Dungeons and Dragons session or something.
Yeah, Skinner comes on and plays the Archmaester or something like that.
Yes.
I like that idea. I like the idea Skinner's secretly like a D&D nerd, you know, and he goes around.
Oh my God, that's put the idea right in my head now.
Spin off everyone. We can
off.
still do it. They're still with us. They're still going strong. But obviously, you know, and Skinner here helps with this plan with the Lone Gunman to bait and switch, basically, to get Mulder out, pretending to be Byers, walk out with the Lone Gunman, and it's actually Byers in the bed, Skinner on the phone, looking all official. Here's the question, do you buy this? Because it's one of those things that I think requires a leap of faith as the audience, because when they're walking out of there, that is very clearly Bruce Harwood, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the whole body frame's completely different.
I mean, it's so different. Like, Duchovny's this statuesque, tall guy, like, flanks, like, Tom Braidwood and Dean Hagland, right? And he comes out here, and he's shrunk, like a couple of feet. Like, you know, or whatever. It's like, yeah, I mean, is it one of those things, is it supposed to be a problem, or are we supposed to just buy it as an audience, do you think?
Yeah, it's a bit of a stretch. I think what you have here is plot advancement superseding reality. And just for the sake of getting him out of the hospital, I think we're just meant to buy it for that short period of time. It is a little stretch of reality. But I'll let it pass. I'll let it pass. I mean, to be fair, when you get that camera shot, which is in line with the guard outside the door's line of sight, Langley is behind Bruce Harwood, so it kind of obscures the view, but you can still tell it's not David Duchovny.
I was going to say, do you think people would even notice this unless they're like doing a podcast analysing every minute, or they pay particular attention to these things? I mean, are we just looking too hard and we're going mad?
Yeah, I think it's probably X-Files fan obsessive time, but any casual viewer, I don't think would give it a second thought. I
don't think they would they? And I think that's the crucial thing, really. It doesn't detract too much. It gets the point across of where you need to be, basically. You know, you need to get Mulder out of that room somehow. Yes, there are lots of other ways you could do it. He could come out, punch a guard, you know, which wouldn't be Mulder. He could, you know, sneak through a vent or whatever, but then you think, well, that's just hard work, isn't it? Just like... Yeah. So I get the reasons why doing more of a bait and switch makes more sense.
Yeah, it does.
And it gives them again. It gives the lone gunman reason to be in the film as opposed to just coming in, visiting their mate, having picked up a bee. It's it gives them the bee that was forgotten by the conspiracy. Yeah, it gives them more of a reason to be in the film, I suppose, which is worth. I mean, was it worth having them in? I mean, it is just a cameo. This is it really. They're just there for this couple of minutes, and that's it. Was it worth doing that? Do you think for the film?
I absolutely think so. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Lone Gunmen, as we talked about previous episode, but yeah, I think to not have them in would have been a disservice to the fans, and I think the Lone Gunmen are part of the cultural furniture of the X-Files, and I think it would have been remiss just not to have them in at some point. And and as you said, they serve a good plot point.
Yeah. No, they do. I'm glad they were there. You didn't need them to be there. They weren't an essential plot point, but they were a good way of honouring the characters and their importance in the X-Files mythos.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
And it's good because they weren't in Fight the Future in I Want to Believe because they were dead. So this was the one and only chance to get them in a film, or in the end. So yeah, it's good.
And it's a bit of fun as well, isn't it? It's a good fun scene.
Yeah. No, it is. I do like that term you just say, cultural furniture of the show. That's a good way of putting it, that is, actually, because they are a bit like furniture, aren't they? They're sort of like, they're the character equivalent of a comfy sofa,
Yes, definitely.
When they're on screen, you go, oh, good. I know where I am now. There's going to be some banter. They're going to come up with some nice stuff, some helpful stuff, and then they go back to their nice little madcap conspiracy lives. Always very warm scenes with them in, which was nice. Which is why their ultimate fate was just a bit of a shame. But that's for a different podcast.
Yeah, I don't talk about that anymore.
yeah, let's not talk about that. Just big ups to Joe Harris who brought them back in the season 10 comic, because that was what they should have done anyway. So obviously, you've got this bait and switch. And I didn't know this, but the guy outside, the member of the conspiracy, presumably, was the first AD to Rob Bowman, assistant director on the film. And his name in real life was Rob McLaughlin. But they decided to. They must have just like pranking this guy, because they decided to call the character Buzz Miho. which is a really great name. Sounds like he should be in The Simpsons.
Yeah.
And so he was in there, and they tried to prank him by trying to convince him they need to shave his head, because he was supposed to be in the Special Forces or the Marines, the character. And they were like, well, we're going to have to shave your head, obviously. And he was like, what? Because he's got long flowing hair.
That fine set of hair. I don't think you would have wanted to part with that.
But yeah, that was a fun little thing, because he doesn't get much to do. He just sort of turns, walks into the room, sees Skinner, and that's it, really. But they had a lot of fun with him, I think.
Yeah. But don't you think he looks like Carl McLachen's long-lost brother?
Oh, from Twin Peaks?
Yes.
The guy... Yeah, he does, actually. He does.
I thought he really looked like him. And he didn't look like a Buzz at all.
No. But the thing is, though, now, whenever someone says Buzz, I just think Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah. Yeah.
To infinity and beyond. That's all I think now.
I was slightly confused, though, was he supposed to be FBI? Was he posted there to guard Mulder, or was he just part of the syndicate and just hanging around for syndicate purposes?
I don't know. I got the sense he was a syndicate guy, because the way it's shot, it's like they're trying to get away from him. It's like they're trying to avoid him. And if he was an FBI guy, wouldn't Skinner just been able to walk out and go, "You're relieved. I'm the assistant director. You're relieved," and send him packing somewhere? Whereas it looks like Skinner's in on the dupe. So to me, he feels like he's just one of Smoking Man's bods or whatever, or the Well Manicured Man's guys. Probably Smoking Man, because we know about his recruitment methods, right? So if it was the Well Manicured Man's guys, he would have sussed it. He'd have gone, "You're not David Duchovny. You don't look anything like Mulder.
You're a different shape."
Yeah, you're like multiple inches shorter. What's going on? Yeah. But yeah, so I think he's conspiracy, but we don't know ultimately in the end. But Mulder anyway gets out. Classic Mulder though, he doesn't say bye either, does he? He just gets on his phone. He's already on the phone, leaving Ferreri and Langley behind, and you're a bit like, just at least say, "Cheers, lads. See you later. Cheers for your help. Thank you for this," because otherwise, I wouldn't be able to go and rescue my partner from an alien spaceship. So this has helped me in a big way. Cheers. I'll buy you a beer next time I see you. Or, we'll go out and go take in the game or whatever. No, nothing like that. He's just like, yeah.
Yeah, he's never been very big on manners, has he? Even when he's on the phone to Scully, he just puts the phone down on her after a conversation.
Yeah, he's so rude. It's just comical. But they're so used to him now. They're just like, yeah, it's Mulder.
Yeah. Who's he ringing at that point, do you think? Is it Kurzweil?
Well, what does he say anything on the phone as he's well, it feels like he says something, doesn't he, on the phone? Or I don't know. It's a good question. Because he does say something, doesn't he, on the phone? Yeah,
I think the audio is very quiet as he walks off camera. So
is he arranging to meet Kurzweil in the bar, do you think?
That's what I thought. And then after I thought that, I thought, well, how's he got his number? I mean, did they exchange numbers?
They must have done.
Yeah, they must have done.
I don't know when, because this is pre-text. So, he could, or he couldn't have looked him up on Facebook and sent him a message. Alvin, are you about? My partner's been kidnapped by aliens. Help. But yeah, Yeah, okay, I'm going to go with that, because then he goes to the bar, doesn't he? Kurzweil is trying to get to the bar. So, it looks like, anyway, he's trying to get to the bar. So, I think that's what he was calling, yeah. But I don't know how he got his number. That's true.
That would make sense, actually, because then he gets intercepted, doesn't he, at the bar?
Exactly. So I think that's true. I hadn't thought of that, though. That makes sense. Presumably, we were supposed to read that without any questioning, though, because if we're questioning that, you can bet your bottom dollar audiences were.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But anyway, he gets outside, and then he's running to the bar, ditches the jacket, buys his jacket as well. Like, what's that about? It's just...
Poor
I know
Byers.
It doesn't fit him. I know it doesn't fit him, but, just at least, leave it with Ferreri and Langley if you don't want it.
He's obviously thrown it off so we can get the Mulder running with his shirt untucked sequence, which happens a fair amount through X-Files history.
It must be. It must be for a shot of him looking more heroic. Maybe they thought he looked more heroic with the shirt off, I don't know. Or more in peril, or more craggy, and he's discordant, which I suppose he does.
Yeah.
But just throw it on the floor. And at least give it to a beggar. If you're not going to have anything, give it to a homeless guy.
I've had it landing in a puddle as well, just for, insult to injury.
Exactly. But yeah, he's running. There was a we mentioned this right at the top of the show, of the Fight the Future Minute, where we were talking about scenes from the trailer, and in the trailer there's another sequence of Mulder running without the jacket, and he's running across the road. Now I don't know whether that was cut and they reshot this with him wearing the jacket and then he ditches it, but it doesn't quite fit with what was in the original trailer. So I don't quite know what happened there, but that definitely didn't make it into the film, and it was the only shot we could find in the trailer that wasn't actually in the movie. Finally, when it was released. So
yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. And then anyway, once Mulder's running presumably towards the bar, you've got Kurzweil, who we haven't seen for a while now, and he's on his way to the bar, as we say, walking down the dark alley, the same alley I think Mulder takes a whiz up of, doesn't he, earlier with on the poster.
Oh yes, on that poster.
On that poster, which is always fun. And he looks like concerned, doesn't he, really, Kurzweil, at this point?
Yeah, he's looking pretty shifty, actually. But I love the way Rob Bowman lights and frames the shot of the alley here. It's a really
it's great.
Effective shot, yeah. It's
a really good shot, because it sort of brings out the scuttiness of the alley, and also all the shadows and the ominous light and things like that. He's very good at lighting alleys, weirdly. He's done it in quite a few episodes that he's directed. Has. Things like Gender Bender, and I think there was, I can't remember the other, there might have been a mythology episode where there's an alley, but he's very good at that. He's good at sort of bringing out these, what otherwise could be really drab, difficult places to shoot or light, and make them interesting. So it sort of suggests, puts Kurzweil in a very vulnerable position, really, this. But yeah, that's where it ends anyway, with Kurzweil walking up the alley, and we'll see where he ends up. It's not good news in the next minute or two. So you're going to be back, Luke, for the next minute 80, as Kurzweil gets himself into a bit of bother, and that'll be really good. So until then, guys, thanks for listening, and remember, trust no one. Elsewhere on We Made This.
The Sanctuary, a Star Trek, politics and economics podcast.
Sci-fi needs more strong women, and they had her say that, and for that split second she was on camera, she was in uniform as Kira Nerys. And I think that was a really well-done piece of framing, a good piece of television, a good piece of framing that was really well done. The whole thing was really, really well done. And I think they got it pretty much right on the mark.
Shipwrecked and Comatose, a Red Dwarf podcast.
I hadn't thought about it any more than Rimmer can see himself, that's unusual. And I'm just thinking out loud now, is there a reason for that, or is it just for that one gag?
It's possibly for that one. Well, no, because there's other ones, like where he gets haircuts later in the series, where it's important for him to see himself, and then the build-up is that he hasn't noticed yet.
That was last episode.
It was future. Yes, it was.
Don't worry. I think we're doing this a lot. It'll be people saying, I don't know if you watch Alan Partridge, when he says, "Stop getting Bond wrong." So I think there'll be plenty of people telling us that we're getting everything wrong, which is great. I love it.
Between the Notes.
Well, I kicked myself because I totally didn't make the connection that Bill Lee would have been related to Spike Lee until I actually looked it up as part of the preparation for this podcast. I was like, oh, he's Spike Lee's dad. I never made that connection.
And he's still going. He's early 90s. He's still with us, which is great.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I was looking up. Apparently, they haven't collaborated since the early 1990s because they've had a bit of a falling out, which is a shame because I think that I thought the Do the Right Thing score was brilliant.
Check out all of these shows and more on the We Made This podcast network.